Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing really well as always, and welcome to this Bullet My Valentine self-titled album review, I guess, kind of thing. We're just doing a chat about it today, okay? It's been 1 month since the album came out, and on one of my live streams a little while ago, when I think it was when I did my my first listening reaction on the live stream, somebody said you should totally do a video after like a month of listening to it, just like telling us your thoughts and stuff like that. So here we are. It's 1 month later. So let's get into it. So I've been spinning the album quite a bit. We've had a month now to digest it, okay? I'm sure a lot of you guys as well who are watching this video have been listening to it, and maybe some of you guys were like me and caught them on the short tour cycle they've done for this album so far in the UK. And yeah, I'm just going to play some riffs from it that I like. I'm going to go through each track. I'm going to talk about what I like, what I don't like, and yeah, let's just chat about it. So straight away, what I want to say is, you guys let me know. Drop a comment down below and just tell me, do you think it still holds up after a month? Are you sick of hearing it now? Yeah, do you think they released too many songs before the album dropped? Because we were only left with like 6 songs that we hadn't heard by the time it dropped, and the singles were pretty... They're sort of like the heavy hitters on the album, I guess. There's a couple of other stuff in there, absolutely. But I think like the main sort of pillars for that album, they're released prior to its release. So let me know, do you think it still holds up? Are you still enjoying listening to it? Is it still on your playlist? Are you jamming it in your car or when you're at home playing your video games or whatever? Let me know what you think, and let me know what your overall thought on it is. So yeah, I thought I'd preface this with that, get your thoughts on it, and okay, here's mine. So if we start right at the beginning, before the album came out, in terms of like expectation, we were all expecting this technical album, this heavier album compared to Gravity, purely based on the interview that Matt Tuck did at Slam Dunk Festival, and he said it sounded like a mashup or a blend between Gravity and Venom. And I'm going to be quite honest with you, I think they achieved that. I think a lot of sort of the anthemic vibe and the sort of the well-produced sort of vibe that was going on with Gravity is certainly on this record. Those choruses are there, yeah. And there's like really spacey moments on the album that sort of like remind me, going back to Gravity. Like take a song like Under Again, for instance, those sort of like spacey verses and stuff. That's definitely in there, I think. So I think what they set out to achieve, they achieved it 100%. So I'm going to go through the tracks now. And yeah, let's just talk about them. I'll play some of my favorite riffs, some of my favorite moments on the album. And yeah, let's go from there. So the intro track, I guess it's sort of like, even though it's part of Parasite, it kind of stands on its own as like an intro. And I always like it when this band do intros. If you think of like V off of Venom, or is that a Roman numeral? It's supposed to be something else, but yeah, if you think of V, I've always called it V, off of Venom, that intro track kind of like building up into No Way Out. Think all the way back to the beginning, the Poison, for instance, that sort of string section, Apocalyptica, the string section on that, and the clean guitar is just like the perfect build-up. And I think it was really cool. I don't know, it's it's funny the way they put all those like previous tracks on there, because we heard that on the Instagram teaser when they were teasing Knives, and I thought that was just like a sort of like a marketing tool, I guess you could say, like looking back on all the tracks, putting them in like a little bit of ambience and having them come and go and stuff like that. But the fact that it's on the album is pretty cool, and they certainly picked like some of like the most heavy sort of thrashier stuff to put in there, along with some like big hitter choruses. They sort of like coming and going. It's kind of like, this is all the stuff we've taken from our previous albums, we blended it all together, and now we're giving you this. But again, it's like in the new formula of Bullet Mark II, in my opinion, and that's what the guys have said as well. It is really sort of like a second birth for the band in a way, stylistically and sound-wise. So yeah, so that intro, really cool, I really like it, and then it goes straight into Parasite, and oh my god, I mean, what a riff to start the album with. It really does set the tone, just a big, heavy, down-picked. That thing is an absolute tank, and I remember like trying to work it out, and those songs, the mix on this album, it's not quite, it's not as easy as the previous albums for me to like work out what's going on in the songs. It's a really sort of like dense mix. and it's not your standard guitar left and right. There's a lot going on in there. Production-wise, I read an interview with Matt, or I watched an interview, and he said that later on the guitars, they put this extra like fuzz pedal on top of them that didn't make it to the tracking because it just would have been a nightmare to track with, but they overlaid it on to the rhythm tracks afterwards, and that's what gives it that really sort of dirty, heavy tone, I guess you could say. So yeah, I think Parasite really does set the tone for the record, and it's definitely one of my favorites. If I put the album on, I know it's like the first track on there, but it's like, it is a go-to track for me to put on. It's got a lot about Bullet for My Valentine that I enjoy. It's got the fast techie riffs, it's got really aggressive vocals, and Matt's really started like delving into sort of the first fret region. The first fret kind of, that's happened before on some of the albums, but sort of like that new metal era kind of riff, I guess you could say, of like the open 1-3. You know, on Parasite, you got that breakdown. I don't think they've wrote riffs as nasty as that before. Fun fact, on the Patreon, the videos, the studio diaries, he was doing that with power chords. But on the record, I think it's single notes. And the verse riff as well. Like, it puts a smile on my face. It really does. Like, I don't get sick of playing that. And I tell you what, it's really pushed me as a rhythm guitar player, this album. Like, compared to the other stuff, there's loads of little nuances in there, like lots of like gallops and stuff in places that you don't expect to find them. Matt talked about being on his max output on this album, vocally, which I definitely think he is, because it's mostly screaming on this record, which is great. Love it. But guitar-wise as well, I think it's his max output as well. There's so much in there that if you blink, you'll miss it, especially on some of like the deeper cuts on the album, not the singles. The other songs on there, they're really sort of pieced together quite cleverly, the way Matt's playing around the drums and stuff like that. So yeah, so Parasite, it's got a great riff. I think that's so cool. The other thing that I think is cool about that song is it does bring it full circle. So it's all like these thrashy riffs and stuff like that. But it does bring it full circle to the classic Bullet vibe with the chorus. With like the single note pivot point, or pedal points I should say even, you know, off of your low 6 string. It does bring it round to that classic sort of Bullet sound. As soon as he starts like clean singing, it's like, there they are, there's Bullet. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you knew it was them anyway, but it's like, this is the new sound. When it brought it round to that chorus and he started singing with that style riff, it's like, that's like the Bullet of My Valentine that we know and love, right? So yeah, Parasite, great track, absolutely love it. I couldn't fault it in any way. The solo is really cool with the way he rides up with a... something like that, right? Yeah, and it's got all the big fast runs in it and stuff like that. And the fact that guitar solos are back as well, you know, that's a really cool sort of guitar solo to put on the intro track to the album, I suppose. Like, it's just like, yeah, I'm back. Do you know what I mean? Like playing solos. So yeah, Parasite, love it. Moving on to the next track, we got Knives. Okay, so Knives was a slow grow for me. I really enjoyed it the first time, but then I made a point of not listening to it because it is short and concise and repetitious. I made a point of not listening to it absolutely loads. Yeah, it was one of them where I didn't know, or none of us knew, if there was going to be any more songs dropped prior to the album. And it was released quite early on, and I just didn't want to listen to it to death and kill it, if that makes sense. Because like I said, it's one of the shorter ones, it's quite repetitious. And it's one of them where if you played it over and over and over and over again, and you know you've got nothing else to listen to from that album at that point, you're just going to kill it for yourself. So by the time it comes down around to the record, you're going to hate it and you're going to just skip over that one because you've heard it so much until that point. However, now, especially after seeing it perform live, man, that song is meant to be played live. It's like, as soon as I saw him play it, I was like, that's it. I get it. They became a different band when they played that song, you know? In terms of like riffs from that one, I just love the chorus riff. Something like that, okay? This isn't one of my lesson videos, so I don't have to play perfectly today. You get the idea, though. But yeah, them delving into that realm, like I told you, delving into that realm of like the open 1/3 kind of thing, and making it work and sound fresh as well. There's a lot of bands that have done that. I don't know. If you take an album like Sempiternal by Bring Me, like it's full of that. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely full of those style riffs, which is kind of like leaning in the new metal sort of way, I guess you could say, with the open 1/3 thing going on. But the way that they've made it work, it's really cool. I didn't expect to hear it on this album, and I didn't expect them to use it so much, and I didn't expect to enjoy it so much when it came round. So yeah, Knives is a belter, and because I've not listened to it, I am really enjoying listening to it now. And of course, the breakdown. That's like For Whom the Bell Tolls, you know? It's just gnarly. It's absolutely gnarly, especially because they're tuned down to drop B now. They've got that extra low end, right? Yeah, it's just originally he wrote it. He wrote it differently originally. If you watch on the studio diaries, he's played it. Upon further inspection, though, I'm watching him play it, because when I saw him playing that, I was like, oh shoot, I've done a lesson video on that. I've taught it wrong. But he must have changed it up, because he does come back. So it goes. Yeah, and I just think that as a breakdown riff is just, it's not complicated. It's just balls out heavy. And he tracked that one on an SG apparently, and apparently that the Gibson SG, it just had like the right kind of like vibe and nastiness in order to capture that breakdown. So Knives, yeah, it's come full circle for me now that I've seen them play it live. I completely get it. It sounds huge when Matt and Jamie are playing off of each other. And when I listen to it on the album now, it makes me think of that, and I appreciate it even more. I thought it was going to be like a filler thing for me in the end, but no, I really dig it now, because I'm kind of really excited to hear that breakdown when I'm listening to it. And again, that sort of like spacey vibe in between the breakdown and coming out of the chorus, that is really going back. Now, I won't even say that goes back to Gravity. I'm going to say that goes back to Venom. If you think of like Worthless, after the chorus, it kind of like breaks down to this sort of like spacey section. So I think that is a callback to that sort of thing. It kind of reminds me of Worthless in that sort of a way. So again, going from Matt's comparison of those two albums, it's all on there. It's just turned up to 11, you know? So yeah, Knives, I absolutely dig it. When I thought at this point I'd hate it because I've heard it so much, but no, I really like it. So moving on to the first song that isn't a single, we've got My Reverie, okay? Now, this song gave me chills on that intro, okay? Because the clean guitar with the sustained ebo notes over the top that are coming in, that is so Poison. It's like Matt's or the band has like maintained that sound every now and then. You'll hear it coming and going, especially like it disappeared on Scream Aim Fire. I don't remember that sound being on Fever. It started off Tears Don't Fall Part 2, okay, but they were obviously harkening back to that Poison sort of thing on those fade-ins, okay. And then Venom, there was a couple of tracks on there. I think Hell or High Water, it happens, and then it happens on V, the intro as well. And it's just those low, those like very high-pitched sort of sustained notes. That is the sound of the Poison to me. So when I heard that they've put it on again, it's like, yeah. And you'll also hear it on the beginning of Leap of Faith as well. It comes in on Gravity on that point as well, on the beginning of Leap of Faith. That is like the signature sound, and that's how you know Bullet are in the room. Or it's a Bullet song playing or a Bullet album playing when that comes on. For me, personally, anyway, because it just reminds me of like the end of the end, when they start swelling out right at the end with the clean guitar and stuff. As far as that track goes, though, it's... I don't want to say it's a filler track. It's really clever with the 3/4 thing they do. Because they go in a 3/4 timing for the verses, and then it comes out back into a 4/4 again. The riff is cool. Something like that. I haven't learned it properly, but I know it's a 4th fret song. Something like that. The song is okay. It's not my favorite on the album, but the two redeeming factors on that one would be that clean intro, okay? And secondly, it really is Padge's sort of like shining moment on the album. The guitar solo goes on, and just when you think it's about to stop and they're going to go back into it, I think the key changes, and like it's just like, nope, I'm carrying on, you know? And yeah, the guitar solo is absolutely killer. It's like, I'm going to prove a point here, kind of. It's one of those moments where they could have kept it short, you know, like a 4-bar solo or something like that, but it just kept going and going and going, and I really, really dug that. So, yeah, it's a clever song musically, but there's something about it that just, I don't know, maybe it's in the choruses, maybe, I think it's the arpeggiated sort of, it's a little bit headachy in that way, and the riff just kind of goes on and on and on. The one thing I will say, though, is... it kind of reminds me of Crawling, because Crawling is a 4th fret song, right? And that didn't make the cut on Gravity properly. And it's almost like he had a song that had a similar sort of riff. Or like even he took that song and just like made a new song out of it. I'm not too sure. But there are similarities there, apart from the big F-off guitar solo in it, of course. But yeah, I like it, but not one of my favorites, which I hate saying, because I'm not saying like, oh no, that song sucks. Not at all. It's just not a standout song for me on the album, but it's got redeeming factors like the clean intro and the guitar solo. So next we arrive at No Happy Ever After. No Happy Ever After. Yeah, that's right. So next, yeah, we arrive at that song, and it's the only drop C song on the album. Or is it? We'll talk about that later on. Yeah, I believe it's the only drop C song anyway. And yeah, as soon as that main riff punches in, it kind of took me back to like Fever. It just gave me like massive Fever vibes, which is my favorite Bullet My Valentine record. So that there was quite a bit of nostalgia there, and even though the riff is cool and everything, I definitely think, and I think you guys will agree with me on this one, I definitely think the standout thing and the focal point of this song is the chorus. When, you know, that riff is kind of going on and Matt's really getting gnarly with his vocals, you kind of thinking to yourself, where's this going? And then that chorus hits. It's got the really fast like trem picking and stuff like that. I haven't learned this one yet. Plus I'm on a B guitar, so I can't play any of the riffs for you and do it justice. But like I love trem picking a hell of a lot. Anything that's got trem picking, it's like I'm down. The fact there's like loads of that in the chorus. And the vocal delivery as well on top of that. It all just blends into one really cool hard-hitting chorus, which is what Bullet are about. You know, they've got the riffs, they've got the solos and stuff, but the reason why we like that band is because of the choruses, in my opinion. They've just always written good, catchy choruses. And I think this is probably one of the most standout choruses on the record. Is it the best song on the record? No. I'll be honest with you. Is it my favorite song on the record? No. Do I like the song? Yeah. Absolutely. Again, I keep going back to that expression, the max output thing, or maximum output. Again, the rhythm guitar aspect of it. Matt is really sort of like dancing around with the main riff and stuff like that. So again, it's just another example of him like turning up his capabilities. And again, like I said, this album's like really pushed me as a rhythm guitar player. Some of these riffs when I first heard them, there are a couple now I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to play that? It's just so off, or like there's loads of little things in there. Like if you blink, you'll miss it, and you want to get it right. Plus it's fast as well, and I've told you guys before, like galloping, like that, doing that just does not come natural to me. Like I've just done it there. So it's like, it's easy for you to say it, but no, I've had to work to achieve this, and I have to work to like keep on top of it. So when this album came around, it was like, I'm really glad I've been like working on stuff like Galloping, because some of these songs just would be unplayable at that point. And I know you guys want to see me play them as well. So rest assured, I will get to the rest of the tracks eventually, but kind of enjoying doing some different stuff on the channel right now as well. So there you go. Not Happy Ever After. I just think the chorus just speaks for that one. Absolutely huge. Next, we've got Can't Escape the Waves. Again, this is another example of that blend between Venom and Gravity. In my opinion, anyway, the thrashy riff, any riff that's going like, that's sort of like, I don't know, like Megadeth kind of thing, where it's like really fast, what are they, 16th notes or something like that. It's got my attention immediately. And that main riff, I don't even know I can remember how to play it now. Something like that. That riff, like, I heard that on the teaser before they dropped the album, and I was just like, sold. And it's interesting because I expected that to be a really thrashy song, and then we get slammed in the face with something we've never heard before. A bass intro. Like, it just came out of nowhere. I was like, what's this? It was really awkward when I did my cover, because that bass sort of intro, it goes on for like ages, and then it happens on the second verse as well, and there's no guitar, there's nothing I could have put in there to like embellish that, so I'm just kind of like standing around like waiting for the next thing to come in. But yeah, that's cool. That's something different. That bass tone's quite monstrous as well. I really like that. I dig the song. Again, like I said, it is that blend of Gravity and Venom. It's got the big sort of like spacey verses, thrashy riff, very sort of Venom-esque, I guess you could say. Also like Screaming Fire, or even going to songs like Breaking Point and stuff like that, where you got those sort of like machine gun riffs that I really like. And I think this one as well is that that classic touchy-feely emotional bullet for my Valentine that people really like, and that's probably what caught everybody when they were younger. Those guys who've been there since like the EP or Screaming Fire or The Poison or whatever, those really sort of like sad sort of songs. It's definitely got that vibe on an album that's got like such a angry vibe on it. Like when these sort of sad, more like brooding songs come around, like this one, I guess they pop out a lot more. And I guess this is the sort of thing that a lot of Bullet fans were like hoping to hear on this album. And the chorus as well, I know he originally wrote it with these big sort of chords, these I'm not sure if they made it to the final cut. You'll see on the diaries, he's like sort of talking about, do they really fit in with the vocal lines? So when I did the cover, I just did the straight sort of. Something like that. I can't remember how it goes because I need the track with me in order to remember it. But yeah, that's an example of like how a simple structure for a song can work as well. You've got like that bass intro, verse, chorus, bass intro again, verse, chorus, It's not technical, apart from the fast thrashy riff, I guess you could say. And I guess that's what makes the fast thrashy riff stand out, okay? It is a standout track on the record for me, 100%. I think I definitely prefer it to a song like My Reverie, for instance, just because it's got the vibe there, it's got the big chorus, and I really like the what Matt's doing vocally on the verse section. It's the end of the line, da-na-na-na-na-na. It's almost like a Michael Jackson kind of thing going on with it, with that da-na-na-na-na-na. Listen again, and yeah, or like Monument started doing that as well. If anybody's listened to any Monuments, it's kind of got that sort of the only way I can refer to it is Michael Jackson. Just listen to it. You'll hear it, or maybe you won't. That's what I took from it anyway. But yeah, really cool song, nice simple structure. Does it belong in the live set? I don't know, because there's not a whole lot going on. I think like the spaces with the bass and stuff like that, I think it might just stop the set dead a little bit. But yeah, it's a nice song. I dig it. So next, going deeper into the album, here is the black sheep of the record, I guess you could say. And that is Bastards. Okay. I think the band knew that this was going to be a divisive song on the record. It's in a swing sort of tempo, and if you don't know what that means, it goes back to yeah, the blues, right? Anything that's got sort of like a swing feel to it, that's what it is, right? And this song is written in that sort of time signature, with that sort of like time feel. And it's really difficult to write a song with that sort of feel and not make it sound cheesy. Yeah? I'll give you one example. You've heard riffs like that a million times before, and it's very dad rock. Yeah, it's very sort of like southern kind of na 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 na. And yeah, did they pull it off? That's the question. Because the riffs aren't dad rock, hands down. It's just that timing sort of breeds those types of songs. Did they pull it off? I'm going to say yes, only because of the structure. Is it one of my favorite songs on the record? No. I'm glad they put it on because it's interesting. And there's some really cool moments in it. You know, like the guitar solo is almost like he's sort of trading off with himself in a little bit of a way with what Padge is doing there. And there's key changes and stuff like that as well, which is really cool. So yeah, I guess the riffs are cool on there. I think what's good as well is like Matt maturing lyrically as well, writing about other things. You know, the guys are like 40 now. And 40 plus. And I guess the traditional formula for that band, with the whole, you know, my girlfriend broke up with me, you know, that sort of thing. Does it work anymore? I think we had the last of that on Gravity, and it worked on Gravity because that's like Matt's little diary through like the whole sort of episode he went through in his personal life. So it was quite heartfelt, I guess you could say. It wasn't like dealing in the hypothetical. But on a record like this, you know, if you take a riff like Parasite, you know, if you were to stick "You've Broke My Heart" under that, like, it's just never going to work. And people just aren't going to take it seriously. So the fact that Matt has grown as a lyricist, and he's writing about other things. You know, this is very much like a middle finger to the system kind of song, right? I guess you could say. And the fact that he has pulled it off, if you listen to the lyrics, they are cool. I do like them. It's quite clever and stuff like that. I think Matt is like really grown as a lyricist, especially on this record. So I guess the redeeming factor of this song is it's pushing him away from writing the traditional like breakup songs that like the Poison was loaded with. There was a few of them like on Fever and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really forced them to sort of like branch out, which is really cool. But yeah, it is a bit of an oddity. It's been a slow growth for a lot of the guys I've spoken to. And yeah, you guys let me know what you think down below of that song, because it is definitely sort of like the odd point on the album. And as soon as like it comes in with the drums, you're just like, oh boy, I know something different's coming here, you know? So I'm glad they included it, hands down. Is it my favorite? No. Maybe it'll grow even more on me. But like I said, it's got a redeeming factor, which is the guitar solo. Like, that is absolutely killer when they're going through like the key changes and stuff like that. Absolutely love it. So yeah, so there you go. There's Bastards for y'all. Next, we arrive at my favorite track on the record. That is Rainbow Veins. And that is really strange because the first time I heard it, I liked it, but I didn't have that initial... I think I did a reaction to this one. And every time I do a reaction, it's really difficult for me to take the song in as much as I would if I was just listening, because I've got to be like this right now with you guys, you know, like on form, chatting and trying to make it entertaining, I guess you could say. And then the more and more I sat with that song, just the more and more I loved it. And strangely enough, it is my favorite song on the record because it's just got that real dark vibe going on with it. And that intro, I saw somebody put in the comments, the intro sort of like reminded him of like what Jim Root does in live Slipknot concerts when Corey's like talking to the crowd and Jim will just be sort of like noodling away on his guitar. And yeah, I completely get that whole well, that's not it. Should we try again? Gosh, do you want some reverb on that? Maybe a little bit too much. Oh, and it just keeps going. But yeah, that song is just intriguing to me. Okay, it's got just when I thought like octave leads and stuff like that were quite redundant. If I'm writing a song now and there's like a chorus, and I've got a chorus and I want to put like a melody over it, octaves I will avoid like the plague. Why? Because the whole era of going like is dead. Okay, that might have been great back in 2005, 2008, but just the whiny octave thing, it just sort of like grates against me, especially when they're harmonizing it with the thirds. Those old Ask and Alexandria records, I absolutely loved them at the time. I celebrate them this day, I guess you could say. But it just sounds so like dated now. And this song, though, makes it, the whole thing is based on a great big octave lead. I mean, listen to it. That, to me, is such a breath of fresh air into the whole octave. It's like sort of the focal point and the lead melody kind of thing. I don't know, it's just harrowing, especially it's just really sad, man. And just the way the vocals, and let reality float away, like, and the way it goes back into it, like I said, I'm struggling to find words here. The emotional and lyrical content of that song, it's just so dark and heavy. You know, I think I relate to that song most on the record, I guess you could say, as a longtime fan of the band. And it's just got everything, you know. It's got the biggest chorus on the album, I guess you could say. Maybe on par with No Happy Ever After. Maybe on par with that one, but maybe even more, I guess you could say. You know, they're two completely different things. But yeah, I'm just going to play some of the riffs from this one because I really, really like it. So here we go. There you go. I just think that is absolutely huge, and I guess the breakdown as well is really cool with the whole. I love pulley-offy riffs like that. Anything that's going like fast pulley-offy stuff, I think it's like thrashy as hell, and that one right there is just a fine example of a thrashy, pulley-offy breakdown riff, I guess you could say. It's cool with that breakdown because it opens up. He's keeping it tight to begin with. He's keeping it quite tight to begin with. Then when it moves into like the second stage of it, where it continues and but everything ramps up, he really opens it up. He's muting it less. goes back down again, and then it's like ambience, yeah, and atmosphere, you know. And yeah, what can I say? That song, it just, every time I put it on, I just want to pick this guitar up and play to it. It gives me chills absolutely every single time I listen to it. I also think it's really cool how in the first verse, Jason Bald does a little kick pattern, and the guitars don't follow it. And you'll hear it now. You'll hear it is in the first verse. And then the second verse, it repeats, but Matt follows it with his guitar. He's like, I can't remember the pattern completely, but it's like... that tight, and he just follows the kicks so tightly. That brings me on to another point as well. The drums on this record are absolutely ferocious, and I think they really got Jason to like free up, if that makes sense. Like, or they freed him up and just said, just play whatever and I'll play around it, kind of thing. I know, like on the Axe Wound record, they wanted one more song. Okay, if anybody doesn't know what Axe Wound is, Matt had another band back in 2012, which was a lot more gnarly and a lot more in this direction, I guess you could say. And there are some songs on here. I'll talk about it a little bit later on, but there are some songs on here that are like straight up. They could have been Axe Wound riffs. But yeah, there was a song on there, Victim of the System, and that was basically just a drum solo. Matt just said, play all your favorite fills and your beats and stuff like that to Jason. Jason did it, put them all down, and Matt just wrote riffs around it. And there's a lot of that going on this album. You'll hear like groovy kick patterns and stuff like that Matt's following on with the rhythm guitar. And I really think Jason's drumming was an inspiration for Matt on this record. It's almost like Jason said, like, what direction do you want to go in? And Matt was like, technical, just play technical beats, like play odd rhythms and complicated kick patterns and stuff like that. And he's like, say no more, fam. You know, and then Matt, because he's got the ability, he's just like copying them on the guitar, if that makes sense. Like he's playing off of the kicks, the kick patterns. He's replicating the patterns on his guitar. Jason's actually said Matt is that tight. He said it's almost like Matt's right hand is like attached to his feet on the kick pedals because he keeps up with them like so tightly. And yeah, there's just like really cool moments on the album, like on Rainbow Veins, where the kicks kick in and Matt like sort of like follows them, and I don't know, it's really cool. It just makes for, I mean, that's been done since forever with metal and thrash metal and stuff like that, but just because Jason's drums are so prominent, a lot of the time you'll be listening to the guitar going like digga-da, 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 yeah. I mean, like, how many bands have made a career off of just going, you know, following the kicks? But because it's not done like absolutely loads like that style, where it just opens following the kicks, when it is done like in that verse, and it's very subtle, it's not like a big breakdown kind of digga-da, digga-da kind of thing. It's very sort of like a subtle sort of thing going on in that atmospheric verse. It just makes it pop out more, and it's more enjoyable to listen to. So yeah, Rainbow Veins lyrically, vocally, drums, bass, guitar, programming, melodies, all of it. I can't say enough about it. The guys hit absolute gold with that one. And I guess I'll be always thankful to them for writing that one, because I know they had an absolute nightmare of a time trying to write that one. They said there were like 3 other versions of it, and then once it finally clicked into place, they got this version of it, which they were happy with. So yeah, standout track on the record for me, which is weird because it's one of the singles and I'd already heard it prior to the release. And I think it's nice when you've heard a song prior to an album's release and you still like it, even when the record's dropped and you've heard it beforehand. So yeah, there you go. So there's Rainbow Veins. So that brings us over into Shatter, which is without doubt probably got one of the coolest intros on the record, with that big fade in. And all the reverb is cranked up, and big suspended chords right there, which are always your friend, right? Which, you know, if you're ever making for that big sort of like epic guitars, intros or choruses and stuff like that, you throw those guys in, you're going to have like a great big sound, you know? And Bullet, that's been part of their sound, those types of chords. And And it was one of those where, because it sort of like fades in and goes on and on and on. It's like, where is this going? And then we get hit in the face with this. Wow, huge Parkway Drive Reverence album vibes from that one. I'll explain about this because that's a lot of people will be going, oh no, kind of thing. I came into listening to Parkway with Reverence, and I really, really dug that album. That was the first record I heard. I was late to the whatever you want to call it with that one, and late to the party. There you go. And I really dug that record, and then I found out that fans really didn't like that record, okay? I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed those sort of like slow, plodding riffs, a little bit like that. So when I heard this song, it just gave me those Parkway drives immediately, like, I don't know, like a song like Absolute Power, that sort of thing, you know? I think the breakdown in Absolute Power is that. You know, or it's very similar, and they're tuned down to a drop B, I think, as well. So there are similarities there. However, it is very Bullet. Those spacey verses with the whole... Man, they get absolutely lost in that, you know? And you know, you guys know I'm a man who enjoys his reverby, clean guitar and stuff like that. So, yeah, I really like how it's kind of got that dichotomy. It's like a big sort of I guess it's like the sad but true on the album. You know, that big sort of slow grooving da-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na-na-na, slow chugging riff, you know, which is what it's all about. Sad but True is where it all started from me. It was slow grooving riffs before fast things, before Battery and Fight Fire with Fire and all the fast stuff that I first heard. There was Sad but True at the beginning of that, and it was like slow riffs were my thing, you know, and they still are. So I really dig that one for that reason. This song also has my favorite riff on the album on it, which I'll play for you now. It's the riff that's being played beneath the solo, and I just think it's so I don't know. It just gets me really hyped up. Something like that. It doesn't end with those notes at the end, but that riff, I don't know. Again, it's the fast picking that I love. Yeah. That song, the more and more I listen to it, the more and more I love it. Again, it's something different, you know, and I think the album, in fairness, it is quite varied. There are quite a lot of different sort of songs in there, if you think about it. You don't listen to the singles back to back. Mind you, I say that. The singles are all different. You know, I guess Parasite and Knives are in the same sort of vein, but you take a song like Shatter, you put that against like Parasite, two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Or if you take a song like Shatter and you put it against Rainbow Veins, it's two completely different vibes going on with it, you know? So yeah, I really like that song. I really like the solo, what Padge did there with the whole... you know, and then he does his run, then he brings it up here. And that is a very Patch thing to do. Like to take a melody down here and then move it up like an octave higher, for instance. And yeah, that's probably my favorite solo on the album. There's just something about that. All about melody, right? That's a very, very bullety thing, very sort of bullety melody. Again, it kind of takes me back to Fever, that sort of melody. And it just so happens, like I said, that it's being played underneath my favorite riff. So it's kind of like two for the price of one, I guess. I really like the sort of hard-faced lyrics on it. You know, when he's like, another crack, what does it matter? Watch me shatter, or something like that. It's like, you know, it's like, I'm already broken and I'm already beaten to a pulp here. It's just like, throw the next thing at me. What does it matter? You know what? I'm broken anyway. Screw it. You know, it's very nihilistic, maybe you could say, or it's very defeatist. And I don't know. I just like it, but there's like kind of like owns it. And live, that one was quite a heavy hitter as well. It was like, it came across really well live, especially when they played the intro over the PA. So again, I guess seeing some of these songs played live, it really has sort of like endeared me to listening to them on the album more so as well. But yeah, that song Shatter, it's a solid 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely love it, you know. And like I said, I'm not being biased here because I love this band and it's a huge part of what I do on my channel. Because there are songs that did sort of miss the mark for me. I guess like No Reverie, even though it's got certain parts in it, it's not my favorite song right the way through, you know. But Shatter, that's a really cool song, especially with the big single note riffs, you know. Something like that. I'm forgetting how that one goes. You get the idea. Something like that. So yeah, Shatter, absolutely love it. Anthemic, dark. It's brilliant. Cool intro. Yeah, slamming song. Okay, so that brings us into Paralysed. This is a song that I am absolutely terrified of, and I really, really do not want to track this one in terms of a cover. The intro with all the sort of like gallops and like jabs and stuff like that. It just terrifies the hell out of me. I don't know. It's just so fast. And it's like, oh. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I haven't lived with the song for long enough. Now, it's a very cool song, but this one, Christ, man, this could have straight up been an Axe Wound song. When I heard that intro, I was like, man, that belongs on Vulture's da-na-na-na-na-na-na. And the verse riff as well. Again, it reminds me of like Victim of the System off of Vultures. You can imagine Liam from Canterbat singing over that, like hands down. And I don't know, it's funny because I remember around the 2012 time when Axe Wound came out, Matt said that this is another style of my writing. This is another thing that I do, you know, another side to my writing, I guess you could say, would be the better words there. And, you know, I don't want to force this into Bullet for My Valentine. I'd rather just do something completely different rather than try and force it in. Bullet's got a sound and I don't want to, which makes sense, you know. But however, we did get Tampa Tampa. Think what you will of that album. There's some good moments on it. I'm not slagging that album off. But I know a lot of people weren't happy with that one. But yeah, so I don't know. It's weird. Because he said that, and now there are riffs like this, which is more of like a hardcore, more thrash metal kind of thing going on with it, which was what the Axe Wound record majored on, you know? And it's like, oh, they're getting them in now. But what's nice is it's not forced in. It works. But what I am saying at the same time is that it's just like you could play that riff and then put like Victim of the System or Blood Money and Lies next to each other, and you'd think it was the same band. And I know it's the same guitar writer. Yeah. But I'm talking Vane. Bullet has a massive stylistic difference to that band, right? So, yeah, it's really kind of cool to see these riffs that I've been missing from Matt, I guess you could say. You know, these gnarly sort of... I don't even know how to go. Something like that. You know, anything that's the 6/5, you know, that sort of like nasty, angsty riff. I've been missing that, so it is really cool to find that on this album, and you know, here it works. He's really gnarly with his vocals, and yeah, it's a really cool song. I like it. Structurally, it's different because the solo happens after the first verse, which is really cool. I like that. It's a little bit of a change up rather than building up to like a middle section, then you solo, then chorus, and then out. And yeah, it's just a little bit of a shred fest, this one, and I guess the main focal point for this one would be the breakdown. That is such a cool riff, and you have to be really spread out with your hand to do that, you know. And then he starts choking it. How's it go? I remember the first time I heard that, like when I first listened to the record, and it just like slammed me in the face. It's just like, I don't know. That is undeniable. That's savage. That's really, really heavy, man. Yeah, and I think maybe it's the heaviest song on the record. I don't know. You guys tell me. I think in terms of like, as a complete package, it's definitely up there as one of the heaviest songs on there, especially as like you compare it to like Can't Escape the Waves or Rainbow Veins, you know. The only gripe I do have with this one, and I've always hated this, and I've hated whenever a band's used it, whether I've liked them or not, is the Digitech whammy pedal. Yeah, that it just it just grates against me. It's like, oh, it's like an ice pick in my ear. I don't know what it is. It happens twice on the album. I think it gets used twice on the album. The other time will be on Knives, I guess. It's fine on Knives, but for this, it's kind of like an annoying sound in my ear. I don't know. You guys tell me. Do you like the whole Tom Morello thing with the Digitech whammy? I'm not personally into it myself. But yeah, that's the only sort of gripe I've got with this song. But all in all, it's really sort of like upping us on the album, like going out to the last song, you know, rather than sort of like slowing the album down. You know, it's like it's bringing the album back up again. After a song like sort of like Shatter and Rainbow Veins, which is a little bit more sort of, I don't know, subdued and ambient and a little bit more vibey, but slower as well. The last two songs just like ramp it up. It's like Metallica finishing with Damage Inc. Yeah, just like, or Dyer's Eve, just finishing out on a high note. I think it really works. And having said that, that takes us into the last track, which is Death by a Thousand Cuts. And oh my God, that riff. Man, great build up with like sort of the ambient guitars and stuff and the little vocal line. But when that riff kicks in, yeah, it's like Blackened. It really is. It's like the first time you put And Justice for All on, you've got that really nice sort of like reverse guitar intro, and then dun 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 dun, game on, you know. And the first time you hear that riff, it just floors you. This is exactly the same thing, and the drums just pounding, you know. And yeah, it's just heavy. It's just really heavy. And I love the way the verse rhythm guitar goes. I'll try and do it now. It's really difficult to play without the track. Something like that. Nope. Nope. And again. Something like that. You get the idea. You want to see me play it properly, go check my cover out. That's already out for you guys if you want to go and check that one out if you haven't already. But yeah, it's just aggressive. Like I said about ending the album, like going out on a bang, you know, take a song like Damage Inc., Dyer's Eve, that sort of thing. I think they really did it with this one, but it's not without its emotional content. The chorus goes back to that classic traditional Bullet My Valentine, touchy-feely kind of vibe, you know, like the sad vibe, you know. Take like a No Way Out. It is very similar to the No Way Out kind of thing. You know, that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, when it comes to writing a chorus, you've only got a certain amount of places you can play on the neck in this style of music, do you know what I mean? So the fact they've breathed new life into those chords and they've sort of swapped it around a little bit, it works. It's really cool. I think the guitar solo is really cool as well, but what I think is even cooler is the rhythm section underneath it, just the way he's like sort of like sliding around with his chords. Something like that. I just think that's really interesting, like just the little slides and stuff like that between the gallops. It's you know, maybe in the olden days they might have just stuck to like straight gallops and stuff like that, just putting little things in between. Yeah, and if you've not heard that riff, if you go and listen to the solo section, don't listen to the solo, but if you listen to the rhythm guitars underneath, you'll hear that one, and it's just a really cool example of how you can really jazz up, I guess you could say, what's going on underneath the solo, rather than just playing, I don't know, like the verse riff, for instance, which is the go-to a lot of the time, yeah. Playing a new riff with a different sort of feel to it, it can really make for a more creative solo, I guess you could say, and plus, that sort of changes the key. I do like what he does with the chords coming out of the solo as well, when he's like... I think that's really cool, those sort of big chords down the bottom. Absolutely love that. And yeah, it's a great album closer, especially when everything sort of slows down and he goes to your traditional 8/5 open. And there was none of that on the album at that point. The 8/5 open... Not to my recollection, anyway. I don't think that's been used as a main chorus right the way through the record, actually. So ending with the record with those chords, I've got no problem with. But yeah, just awesome song. Again, it sort of very much reminds me of like Fever in certain ways, and Venom as well, I guess you could say. But I guess the standout thing on that track is probably that down-picked monster riff, right? So there you go. That's all the tracks. Or is it? So Stitches is the Japanese bonus track, and I've got a cover for that. So if you haven't heard it yet, you go on my channel, you'll see me play it. Just talking about that one, that should have been on the album. That should have been the 11th track. It is a little bit different to the other songs. I can see why they didn't include it properly. But again, it's going back to that classic sort of tremolo-picked chorus. That's not it, but that's an example of, right? Absolutely love it. And, you know, like the main riff. Absolutely love that. All about that. It's got a really cool guitar solo in it with a load of sweep picking in it, or just a little bit of sweep picking, I suppose you could say. Only three notes around. That sort of thing. Padge doesn't really do the whole across the string sweeps or anything like that. If he does sweeps, usually he just keeps it to the 3 strings, which is good news for me because I suck at sweep picking. But yeah, that song is really cool. If you haven't heard it already, go back on my channel and you'll see me play the cover of it. And that one is in drop C as well, which is a little bit of a change from the drop B because the album is kind of mostly, apart from one song, in drop B. What can I say, man? Absolutely love that riff. And yeah, it's a little bit of a hidden gem. Like I said, I can see why they didn't leave it on the album with all the other tracks. It has got a very different vibe to the rest of the album. But yeah, if you've heard that one or you've watched my cover of it, let me know what you think of the song, if you think that should have been on the record. And yeah, okay, so that is pretty much all the tracks. So overall, I think the album holds up well after 1 month of listening to it. And here's the thing, even on the songs that I didn't get into as much, there are still redeeming factors on them. So for instance, if you take my Reverie, it's got that kick-ass intro, right, with the clean guitar and the sustained notes and a really cool guitar solo that just goes on and on. It's like, that solo is like Padge's Time to Shine, I guess, on the record. That's like one his most standout solo, I think. Although my favorite solo, like I said, is on Shatter. Each of the songs that I didn't dig, there's some sort of thing in there that I do like. Even Bastards has got its moments on there. You know, that sort of like clean riff that's going on in Bastards. The middle section with the guitar solo where it's almost like a trade-off. It's, there's redeeming factors, so that doesn't put those songs as write-offs for me. I think the coolest thing as well is the singles. I still enjoy hearing them. I still enjoy playing and listening to Parasite. Rainbow Veins is my favorite. That was a single. Shatter, that's one of my favorites. Knives, just love the breakdown. I'm not sick of hearing them yet, you know? So yeah, there's a lot on this album that I do like. The stuff that I don't like is just the use of the Digitech whammy. There's just a couple of riffs on there as well that just sort of missed the mark for me. I guess structurally, there's parts in my Reverie that just aren't my favorite, and you know, I'm okay saying that because for the majority of the album I absolutely love it, you know. So just going down my list here, drums are a massive focal point on this album, without a doubt. They are like, I don't know, they're just relentless right the way through, and not in a bad way, you know, like Death Magnetic with that really compressed drum sound. It's like, right, okay, Lars, enough already. You know, the drums are just so well executed on this album, and he's really freed up his style and just like gone for it. So yeah, I think this album is very much a musician's album in a way, because there's certain stuff on there that you'll only sort of appreciate maybe as a musician, that you'll pick up on, like the way the guitars are dancing around the kicks and stuff like that. As far as the vocals go, absolutely killer. Matt's gone for this new thing stylistically with the scream. He's changed his screaming style. It's more of like a, I don't even know what it is. Is it a fry scream? Is it false chord? What is it? You vocalists tell me. But he said he's like changed it up to sing a little bit more like Jamie, or scream a bit more like Jamie, which is a little bit more technique driven and a little bit more about manipulating the microphone as opposed to just going, ah, and blowing your voice out, you know, which has already happened to him once already. So he's found a style that really works. And I guess it's got like kind of like a Rob Flynn Machine Head kind of vibe to it, which I really dig. Rhythms, just tight rhythm guitars. They are, when I've been doing the covers and stuff, they have been the main focal point for me, like for me to get my head around. The guitar solos have been an afterthought when I've been covering songs on this album. And that's not just saying, oh, all guitar solos are easy. No, that's not it. It's just the thing that Matt was saying about wanting to get it technical, and those little things here and there, if you miss them, you've really screwed yourself on the riff. I think the technicality is there with the rhythms, and it's like if you're not on it as a guitar player, like you're going to struggle to play some of these songs. Well, for me anyway, if I'm not on it, yeah, you guys are probably way better than me. But if I'm not on it, like I'm going to miss it, which is, for instance, Paralysed. Like I took 2 looks at that song and was just like, nah, need to live with the song first, need to get it in my head, and then I'll get around to that one. Lyrically, yeah, it's a massive progression from All Bullet, which was all heartbreak songs, which we know and we love, and that's absolutely fine. It's nice to see Matt singing about other things as well, like, you know, like there's a lot of middle finger songs on this album, you know, take a song like Parasite and stuff, very much pointing the finger and getting angry and stuff. But then there's like, you know, there's other themes, which is like kind of like a Screw the System one with Bastards. Rainbow Veins, it's kind of like escapism, and it kind of like taps into the mental health thing. I think that maturity has come through on the lyrics, and they are quite clever the way he's put them together. Like Rainbow Veins, for instance, he wrote those lyrics before there was any music even. He wrote the music around the lyrics, you know. So yeah, it's entertaining for me to listen to anyway. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. And lastly, solos. Yeah, absolutely. Padge killed it. You know, it's not out of this world. Oh, he's gone and locked himself away and learn all these new techniques and stuff like that. It's very standard Padge. It's what you'd expect to hear, or they are what you would expect to hear from Padge's soloing style, okay? And what do I mean by that? The patterns, the shapes, the way they're composed, yeah, and stuff like that. The scales he uses, they're very, very him. And you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, because it works absolutely perfectly. And it's just great to hear the solos back again, in my opinion, anyway, like full stop. So I'm just glad we got something. But yeah, they're just great. They just do the job. It's nothing incredibly out of this world, you know. But the thing is, by today's standard, I don't like incredibly out of this world guitar solos. I prefer Padge's school. You know, Padge, Kirk Hammett, Zakk Wylde, you know what they sound like. You know what they do when they pick up the guitar. They've got that sound. You don't expect to hear anything different from them. And that is absolutely okay. Because in a sea of guitar players now where it's, you know, we've talked about this before, you know, headless guitars and 9 strings and they're, you know, and it's a brand you've never heard of before. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And it's all tapping on the neck and stuff like that. I just don't enjoy it. And I don't think I'd want to ever hear Padge reverting to that either. So his note choice and the way he's composed the solos on this record, it's standard Padge 100%, but it works. It's effective. So going forward, I'm just wondering if the best is yet to come, because they've got 6 songs tracked already, apparently. Don't know when we're going to be hearing them, and I think it might be more in the vamped up sort of songs like Parasite, Stitches, maybe even Death by a Thousand Cuts. I definitely think that is the sound they might be going towards more next with those songs, but I'm just speculating. What are you guys expecting to hear next? What are you hoping for? Are you hoping or expecting songs like Can't Escape the Waves and Rainbow Veins, the more sort of spaced out stuff, or are you waiting for more songs like Parasite or, you know, Paralysed, you know? Or are you wanting another Bastards? Do you want a whole album in in swing beat? Yeah. Can you imagine a whole album of it? Yeah. Do you like Bastards? Do you enjoy it? Kind of missed the mark for me, although I appreciate it. And like I said, it's got redeeming factors on it. That's the thing with this album. Just bringing it to a close now. I've said it once already, but I'll repeat myself. If you're still here, thanks for tuning in, by the way. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. But yeah, like I said, even the moments that I don't quite enjoy in this album, there's like some sort of redeeming factor in there, which I think is it's really good when you can still appreciate something and you can still go, oh, no, but that's really cool, though. I really like that, you know? So there you go. There's my little walkthrough and talk through of the self-titled album. Does it hold up 1 month later? Yes, it does. The album still makes me want to pick up my guitar and play. That's the important thing for me, okay? Might be completely different for somebody who's not a musician. They might be sick to death of the songs because they're just listening to them. But for me, as a guitar player, when I hear it, I'm like, get me my guitar, do you know what I mean? It makes me want to play. And when a song like Rainbow Veins comes on, it makes me want to turn it up. Yeah, so it absolutely 100% holds up. I'm not going to give it a rating or a score. I'm going to let you guys do that yourself, because I guarantee if I gave it a rating or a score, tomorrow my opinion will be different, okay? And the day after that, and the week after that, and the week after that, okay? But yeah, I like this album a lot. It is everything that I wanted. Maybe a couple of the songs could have used a little bit more work, or they could have swapped one of them out for like Stitches. I think that's a stronger song than some of the songs on there. But overall, it's a good body of work. And I think in terms of like a mission statement, Matt said he wanted a technical, aggressive, angry record. In terms of that mission statement and their goal and their intention, I think they achieved it. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this. Like I said, if you're still here, thank you so much. If I missed anything, let me know. I hope I haven't missed a song, but I did go through each one of them and write down what I thought about each one. And yeah, thank you so much for all your support, as always. Here come the plugs. The podcast, me and Matt the Riffmaster, go listen to that. We have a great time doing that. We put a shed ton of work into it. And everybody who's listened to it and has told me they listened to it said they've really enjoyed it. So if you want to hear us just chat about music and have a good time, If you go listen to that on Spotify and on his channel as well. My videos recently, I just did A Place Where You Belong, full song breakdown. So if you missed that, be sure to check that one out. Plenty more to come, even though we're slowing down for Christmas now. Week off, I'll probably still put some videos out for you guys, of course. And yeah, thank you so much for your support, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Cheers.